to the Triple Threat Show. I am your host, Jeremy Lapidus. Today is a beautiful Wednesday, October 29th, Halloween, just 2 days away, and it is the spookiest time of the year. It is time for our weekly NFL Power Rankings. We will go through each and every single one of the 32 NFL teams that are in the NFL. We'll rank them 1 through 32. We'll talk about their chances to make the playoffs as we hit mid-season, what their outlook is looking like, and then we will cover all of the biggest news from around the world of sports. But let's talk a little bit today about those power rankings, and let's start off, as we always do, at number 32. Number 32, back at the bottom for actually the first time all year. It's the Tennessee Titans. I wanted to hold off on giving the Titans this bottom spot, if I'm being completely honest with you. But the way that they've played lately, their lone win on the season was a fluke of all flukes against the Arizona Cardinals. A win is a win in the NFL, and they're hard to come by, so celebrate them. But they're the only team in the NFL that's fired their head coach. They're the only team in the NFL that's quarterback has publicly called out the team for, quote, playing like ass, right? That is bad. They need to be better than that. The Titans' defense just isn't getting the job done. The weapons aren't there. Calvin Ridley's fallen off a cliff this season. He had high expectations, at least from me, this preseason with what he was doing with Cam Ward. Cam Ward's been okay, but that offensive line has been atrocious, and without that, there's just really nothing there for the Titans to hang their hats on. They just got absolutely destroyed by their former head coach. He got a standing ovation. That's how bad things are. Their coach that was going to beat them, everyone should have known that, the one that formerly coached them, got fired by them, got a standing ovation from the fans just to come out and destroy their NFL team. That's not a good spot to be in. They're down to 32. At 31, I've got the New Orleans Saints. It is time for them to make a switch at quarterback. Tyler Shuck is in. Spencer Rattler is out. Rattler won one game. That's good. But he was unable, of course, to finish off this season. He took out the Giants in, again, I'm not going to call it a fluke of a game, but a game that was a little bit wacky and not really all Spencer Rattler. Now, Spencer Rattler wasn't necessarily the problem with the Saints. This is just not a good roster. You could put Patrick Mahomes back there, and this is a Saints team that would probably only win about 8 games, right? That is what we're talking about right now. It's not a good Saints team. It's not the quarterback's fault, but they get a rookie out there, rookie from Louisville, second-round pick. Maybe Tyler Shuck can go out and show them something. They get a tough game against the Rams, who are coming back off of a bye week this week. The Bengals down to number 30. When you lose to the Jets, it's not a good sign. The Jets, the lone winless team in football, and the Bengals find a way to lose. It's the same story every time with this team. Even if Joe Flacco is going out there and putting up points for your squad, if you can't shut down a Justin Fields-led offense, that's just unacceptable. The Bengals down 3 spots, from number 27 to number 30 here. As we get into our top 30, the teams that are not just absolutely disappointing. The Jets at number 29. They finally get a big win. Claps for them, snaps for them. Aaron Glenn finally gets off of the donkey. He finds his way into the winner's circle for the first time, a 39-38 victory over the Bengals. The best game of the week. Every other game this week kind of sucked. Who would have guessed that the Jets-Bengals would be absolute cinema? The Jets put up 39 points. Look, when the Jets offense goes, and we've seen it now twice, they're a good team. They've showed up against the Steelers in week 1, and now they showed up here against the Bengals. It takes a special kind of bad defense for the Jets to show up, but they play the Dolphins twice, so maybe they can find a way to get a couple wins. Speaking of the Dolphins are above them. They're at number 28 right now. Their defense atrocious, but how about one Tua Tagovailoa. Tua comes out of nowhere, and he dominates that game. He looked like vintage Tua. He looked like a guy that had a team score 70 points for them one time. That is how this team should play. They're without their biggest weapon. Achane continues to dominate. I like that they're getting more Ollie Gordon involved. That short game is going to do wonders. When you have Jalen Waddle doing Jalen Waddle things, it is going to be a much easier time for the Dolphins. But that defense is still really bad, and they're not going to beat any good teams. The Raiders, up to number 27, off of a bye week. Not too much to say about them. They are just what I would categorize as the best of the worst. This is a Raiders team that doesn't have anything going for it. I expect Pete Carroll to be fired at the end of this season. Geno Smith is playing like one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL. Their defense isn't good. Their offensive line isn't good. They have the weapons to, on paper, be good, but Ashton Genty doesn't have any time. He hasn't really been able to develop this season. Brock Bowers has been hurt all season long. Jacoby Myers wants out. Trey Tucker's been pretty solid for them, but it doesn't matter because Geno Smith has been one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL, and outside of Max Crosby, they've got just about nothing on defense. So I would call them the best of the worst. The champions of the toilet bowl, the Raiders at 27. The Browns at number 26, their defense is elite. Myles Garrett, 5 sacks last week. 5. And it didn't mean nothing. 0 wins for the Browns. They continue to just flounder around out there. The Browns can't seem to figure it out on offense. I expect to see Shadur Sanders enter the starting lineup in the next 2 weeks. At number 25, it is the Vikings. I'm not a fan of the way that the Vikings handled that Carson Wentz situation. He was clearly in pain, and they just trot him out there to be the sacrificial lamb, to stand there, take hit after hit after hit, and ruin what's left of his legacy. Recency bias is a powerful thing. People are saying he's never going to play in the NFL again. I don't necessarily think that, but he's played 2.5 games. 2.5 games on a torn labrum. Did Carson Wentz. That is kind of unacceptable. Like, I understand maybe J.J. McCarthy isn't ready to go. You have other guys you can go to. You have an undrafted rookie, Max Brossemer, Minnesota Max over there. He can come in and play some football for you. You don't need to trot out Carson Wentz, who needs to have surgery on his labrum, season-ending surgery, for 2.5 games. I understand it for half a game. But for 2.5? That cannot be the best way to handle things. There's got to be a better way to do that. I'm not a fan of the way that they handled that. The Vikings at number 25. Their defense is just not as good as it was last year, and losing Sam Darnold hurts a lot more than I thought it would. At number 24, the Arizona Cardinals. This is a team that just seems to find ways to lose games. They are so close. They are always the next one up. They are always the bridesmaid, never the bride in these games. They are so close, losing by a total of 13 points over their last few weeks. Jacoby Brissett has come in and played really good football for them. Kyler Murray should be ready. They get a showdown they get a really good matchup this week. The Cardinals should find a way to win this one. Hopefully. I mean, you never really know how it's going to go in the NFL nowadays, but Cardinals at Cowboys, that defense for the Cowboys, pretty bad. The Cardinals and Kyler Murray, when he starts, 9-0 in Jerry World, looking to keep that stat going as they play on Monday Night Football. Let's move on here. Excuse me. To number 23. It is the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons, I don't get this team. We talked a lot about bad teams before this as we get up in our power rankings. We've talked about the Cardinals and the Vikings, who I think could be good, but they just aren't, simply. Like, you can tell that these aren't good teams. The Falcons, on the other hand, they could be good, and they are good half the time. And then there's the other half of the time. The time when you get blown out, get shut out by the Carolina Panthers, 30-0. The time when you get blown out only score 6 points against the Miami Dolphins. And then there's other times where you go out, you show out, right? The Falcons have won a lot of big games. They've taken care of the Commanders this season, right? They have been in just about every single game other than the two aforementioned games where they got blown out. They probably should have won against the Bucs. They beat the Vikings, domination. They beat the Commanders. They dominated the Bills, right? And then they go out there and they can't beat the Dolphins. And they can't beat the Mac Jones 49ers. And they can't beat the Panthers. And all of that leads to what it's always going to be for this team, and that is an internal 7-10 or an internal 8 and just internal 7-10 to 9-8 seasons, and they're never going to get out of this cycle. I think they need to fire their head coach. He's going to be one of those 6 guys that moves off of their jobs at the end of this NFL season. At number 22, it's the New York Giants. Brutal injury for Cam Skattebo. He is out for 4 to 6 months, so he should be back for next season. It sucks, but the Giants with Jackson Dart have been playing better. They're not going to be good. They're just simply not going to be good. They're not going to win a lot of games. They have a very tough schedule, but they're going to be competitive in all of their games. And as long as you can be competitive in your games, you have a shot. And if you have a shot, that's good enough in my book. The Giants stick at number 22, and I think that's a good spot for them. I think they'd beat the Falcons, honestly, with the way that the Falcons play down to their competition. I think the Falcons would overlook the Giants a little bit. At 21, I've got the Dallas Cowboys. How about them Cowboys? They had a huge victory, holding the Commanders to just 22 points 2 weeks ago, and then it's the reverse, 44 to 22 against the Broncos. That's not a good look. You get CeeDee Lamb back. You have George Pickens, who's playing out of his mind. Dak Prescott playing great football. Javonte Williams has a nose for the end zone. He's revived his career. He's finally looked good for the first time since that ACL injury he suffered his rookie season in Denver. The Cowboys' just defense is really bad, and it's only getting worse. I keep coming back to it, but if they had Micah Parsons on this team, they're competing for the 1 seed. They really are. That's how good Dak Prescott is playing right now. And it doesn't matter because they traded away their best defensive player for a bunch of pocket lint and a couple flyers on what ifs in the future. If they trade for an edge rusher, they should burn down Jerry Jones's house because that's just stupid, right? Unless they find a way to, I don't know. It's just not worth it. The Cowboys, bad team management, bad team. They're at number 21. At number 20, their usual spot. How about the Pittsburgh Steelers? They just kind of hang around here all year long. They find ways to win games. They find ways to lose games. That defense is the worst iteration of the Pittsburgh Steelers defense I've seen in a very, very long time, though. And because of that, I'm going to continue to keep this team down. Despite them in charge of their division right now, I don't expect them to win it. I expect them to fall down probably to number 2 in that division. I think they go 8-9, and I think they miss the playoffs. And number 19, it's the Washington Commanders. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. Jaden Daniels and his injury issues. Not just him, but the entire team with their injury issues has been a huge problem for them. The offensive line has not been good enough. You take a look at the running game, it hasn't been good enough. Losing Austin Eckler for the season doesn't help with that. Not having Jaden Daniels doesn't help with that. The wide receiver room has been injured. You finally get Debo and Terry McLaurin back, and it's good to see Terry in the end zone. But at the end of the day, this is a Commanders team that's just not good enough. If they can get healthy, if Jaden plays next week, they can maybe go on a little bit of a run, but I do think this next game is must-win for them. The Panthers up to number 18 despite what's going on with Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton, if he steps foot on them, they fall way down. This is a power ranking with Bryce Young in mind. I think Bryce Young is going to continue to play football for them. He has led them on a pretty solid win streak right now in Panthers standards. But if we're talking Andy Dalton Panthers, you're sitting in the Saints, Bengals, Jets territories down at 30-ish. But I think that's the Bryce Young difference. Bryce Young, good at quarterback, believe it or not. At number 17, it is the Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears at number 17. How about Caleb Williams? He's been playing a lot better. The defense has been playing a lot better. I'd like to see more out of the running game. That's starting to develop. That's going to help Caleb. And that's not to say Caleb's been playing elite out of his mind football. They just take a bad loss to the Baltimore Ravens. I need to see a little bit more in structure stuff from Caleb. I need him to trust his reads, trust his wide receivers a little bit more. He does a lot of dancing in the pocket. He's a good quarterback, but he has a lot more potential, and he's getting better every single week in that Bears system right now. At number 16, how about the San Francisco 49ers? No Brock Purdy, no problem. No Ricky Pearsall, no problem. Well, a little bit of a problem. They lose to the Texans 15-26. That's a really good Texans defense, though. The concerning part for me is the fact that Texans offense looked kind of good against the 49ers defense. That's a Texans offense that had not been able to get anything done because CJ Stroud had been so pressured, because that offensive line is so bad. The 49ers missing a lot of key pieces. Fred Warner out for a while. Nick Bosa out for a while. Those are probably your two best players on defense. They are both gone for the season, and I think we're going to start to see them catch up to the Niners as the defensive injuries stack up. At number 15, the Jacksonville Jaguars, coming off of a bye week. I'm starting to fade on this team. They just make too many mistakes, too many self-inflicted mistakes. Trevor Lawrence makes too many mistakes. They have the weapons. They have the defense. I just don't love the way that Trevor Lawrence is playing ball right now. They're at number 15. Number 14, it's the Baltimore Ravens. The Birds crawl up a bunch of spots after a big win against the Bears. That with Tyler Snoop Huntley at quarterback. Lamar Jackson coming back. I think the Ravens win this division. I'm ready to lock it in. I'm ready to say that the Ravens are going to win the AFC North after last week and the way that it went. I'm a big fan of this Ravens team. That defense is getting better, and I expect it to continue to grow. At number 13, it is the Houston Texans. How about the Texans with a big win over the San Francisco 49ers last week? The Houston Texans go out there and they looked competent offensively for the first time. People have been sleeping on this Texans team. This is a team that's won a playoff game 2 years in a row. There's no reason to count CJ Stroud and the Texans out. They're still really good at football. At number 12, it's the Chargers. Justin Herbert playing elite football right now. There's no reason to believe that they're not going to be good deep into the season. They're getting healthier. Joe Alt is back, and that's made every difference. Oronde Gadsden stepped up as yet another weapon for Justin Herbert. The young tight end out of Syracuse has been amazing for them in limited playtime. You still have Ladd McConkey, who's having a little bit of a down year, but still very good. Quentin Johnston come out of nowhere. Keenan Allen as that veteran presence. This is the best weapons group that Justin Herbert has ever had, and they are showing it with the way that they are playing football. At number 11, it's Sam Darnold and the Seahawks. They fall a couple spots in their bye week. Maybe that's a little harsh, but I just thought a lot of teams had pretty impressive performances last week, and it's built up what they've done. The Seahawks, that defense is elite. It is. It's dealing with injuries, but it's elite. They have a Sunday night matchup against the Commanders. This is a big one for both of them. The Seahawks looking to stay in that division race with the Los Angeles Rams as that division continues to get tighter and tighter. At number 10, it is the Denver Broncos. How about the Broncos? Another win. That's 5 straight now for the Broncos. This one, not quite as dramatic as the last two had been. Comebacks against the Eagles and the Giants, but a third straight win against the NFC East. This time, the Cowboys, one more notch in their belt before they take care of the entire division. Bo Nix playing really good football right now. The Broncos up to number 10 with that defense. At number 9, we're going with the Green Bay Packers. Micah Parsons, still elite, still a monster. Do not forget about him. The Packers' offense is starting to get healthier. You saw Christian Watson and the big play ability that he has, how stretching that field makes such a big difference. When they lost Jaden Reed early in the season, the Packers lost their deep threat. Now, that's not to say they don't have receivers that go deep, because Jordan Love loves to throw the ball deep. It's his favorite thing. He has the highest average depth of target in the NFL by a wide margin. And when you have a guy like Christian Watson who can spread the field, it opens up under all the underneath stuff. It opens up the run lane. It helps Jordan Love play the type of game that he wants to play, that true gunslinger style, and that's going to be a big difference for them. Once they get Jaden Reed back, that's going to be a huge get for them, and that offense is going to open up even more. At number 8, I've got the New England Patriots. Oh my God, the Patriots continue to play great football. A huge win for them last week. Drake May, MVP level performances, an easy schedule this way out. I know they haven't really played anybody super impressive, but I'm a big fan of the way that this Patriots team is playing right now. Drake May and the Patriots up to number 8. At number 7, it's the Bucs. Maybe I'm too harsh on them. They got a big win against the Saints last week. Excuse me. They got a big win against the Saints last week. But this is a Buccaneers team that just hasn't looked comfortable a lot. Baker Mayfield is playing great football, and he's in the MVP race for sure. But the weapons are injured. Mike Evans most likely done for this season. Chris Godwin is dealing with a nagging injury. Ibuka still dealing with an injury. They get a much-needed bye. Bucky Irving dealing with an injury. And for the most part, they've been able to survive it. But I wonder how sustainable it is. They're still a great team. They're up to number 7. At number 6, I've got the Buffalo Bills. A big win over the Andy Dalton-led Panthers. I need more out of Josh Allen. I know that 216 yards out of James Cook is nothing to sneeze at, but I need more out of Josh Allen. He needs to be playing a little bit better for me to move him into the top 5 and over a couple teams. The Colts are that team as we enter the top 5 here in the NFL. Jonathan Taylor is not, but he should be the MVP frontrunner. 4 different games with 3 touchdowns. 4 different games with 3 touchdowns. Jonathan Taylor has. He is amazing. He's on pace for a top 20 scrimmage yard season of all time right now. He's on pace for 2,200 yards from scrimmage, 1,800 rushing, 450 receiving, and he's on pace for the second most touchdowns in the history of the NFL with 29 touchdowns. The record's 31. He's on pace for 25 rushing touchdowns as well, which the record's 28. He's almost there. He's been elite all season long. That's the reason this Colts team is playing great. Opportunistic defense led by defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo. That was a huge get for them. And Daniel Jones, just simply playing mistake-free football. As long as he does that, this is a great Colts team. At number 4, how about the Rams? A bye week for them. They're getting Puka back, most likely. If he's back, this team is a Super Bowl contender. The Eagles at number 3. I have to take off my Eagles hater hat. I have to do it. I have to throw away my Eagles hater hat for a second here because that offense is humming. It is. You have Jalen Hurts, who's finally throwing the ball. Saquon Barkley, who finally broke a long touchdown. If that offense continues after the way they played against the Giants, that's going to be a really scary Eagles team. At number 2, off of a bye week, couldn't change them around. The Lions stick right there. The Lions are the best team in the NFC. The way they're playing, despite being so injured on defense, they're flying around. Last time out, we saw them. They're going to get a couple guys back, one off suspension. They're going to get healthier. The offense continues to play great. Jahmyr Gibbs, maybe the best running back in the NFL, but definitely top 3. The Lions are just an elite football team. And at number 1, yet again, maybe it's blasphemous of me. They're not even winning their division, Jeremy. It's the Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes is playing at an MVP level. This team looks frankly unbeatable right now. I don't think this team can be beat right now with the way that they're playing football. I'm a big fan of them, and I think they're going to be Super Bowl favorites yet again out of the AFC. But let me know what your thoughts are. I'll run through the top 10 one more time. At number 10, it's the Broncos. 9 is the Packers. 8 is the Patriots. 7 is the Bucks. 6 is the Bills. 5 is the Colts. 4 is the Rams. 3 the Eagles. 2 the Lions. And at number 1, it's the Kansas City Chiefs. Thank you, everybody, so much for tuning in to today's episode of the Triple Threat Show. I have been your host, Jeremy Lapidus. We will be back on Friday. Friday game picks, going over everything you need to know for the weekend that will be. We'll talk some MLB. We will talk some NBA, all of that and more on Friday.